looking for certain artifacts. Well, for some time.
Hey everybody, nice to hear to you, and welcome back to Let's Play Tomb Raider Trilogy. In the previous episode, we began exploring through Croft Manor in Tomb Raider Legend. In today's episode, we'll be doing something pretty different from what we usually do on this channel. In Tomb Raider Legend, there is a very well-known glitch amongst the speedrunning community where if you jump on a slope and pull your guys at the exact right moment, Laura can actually walk around in the air. Because of the way Laura landed on the slope, the game still thinks that she's on the ground, even though she's not actually touching any ground surface or anything like that. So walls and visible barriers still affect Laura, so you can't exactly go through every piece of terrain in this game. But this glitch can do some amazing speedruns in this game, and because of that, this glitch can actually make it possible for you to beat this game in less than 40 minutes, which is pretty interesting. So starting off with Bolivia, the first thing I want to demonstrate is something hidden behind the level. So this area right here, you may notice that there is a weird textured block just randomly floating there. This is a bit of a technical thing where developers will place these blocks all over their levels out of bounds. And basically these blocks act as a bit of a trigger point for cutscenes or particle effects or things like that. So that's likely what this is used for, and I noticed that on the original Xbox version, this block isn't actually here, so I'm thinking that this block is used on the Xbox 360 version, and all the HD versions in general, as kind of like a trigger point for the more advanced particle effects that they could only do on the HD version. I might be wrong about this, but this is just my personal theory. The next area we'll be demonstrating is the exterior of Bolivia. This is one that I have a lot of fun playing around with, because you can just really see just how condensed this area is, because when you're exploring these areas on your own time, these areas feel vast and open, but seeing everything from a bird's eye view really does put everything into perspective, and you can also see just how low texture the background trees are. It's actually really, really funny. And something else that's also pretty funny is if you go over here, you'll notice that there is a random helicopter floating under the level. Now the reason why this is a thing is because whenever there is an in-game cutscene that uses in-game models rather than pre-rendered cutscenes, those models still need to be in the game's environment to be able to work in the cutscene, because it will take too long to call in the entire model to do the animations and then disappear. That would take way too much processing time. So instead, what they do is that they hide these outside the boundaries of the camera and then pop them into the cutscene whenever they need them. Fair warning, I'm a nerd, so I'm going to be rambling about a lot of technical programming stuff during this episode. So yay! Now this is going to be the first instance in the video where I'm actually going to be using somebody else's footage for this, and your name's going to be on screen right now, but I have to thank this person so much for allowing me to use your footage. I really wanted to demonstrate this on my own video, but I just couldn't get the footage for it, so I really do appreciate you helping out with this video. A link to their full video will be listed in the description below if you'd like to check it out, as well as a card on the corner of the screen. So like I said earlier, all the models within a cutscene have to be loaded in the environment for them to be able to work properly. So something really funny is that hiding inside the mountains, it's too low to be able to reach the mountains themselves when you're using the walking in air glitch for you to see this for yourself. But hiding in the mountains in the background is the model for the plane and all the characters inside of it. So that's just really fun to see, especially young Laura's expression right here. I don't know what she's thinking, but it's just really funny to see. The next one we'll be demonstrating is the town in Peru. So this is also another common area to use this glitch whenever you're speedrunning, because when you're playing normally, you have to go into the town, fight all the bad guys over there, and then fight through a bunch of bad guys as you go across the town again, and then you get your way to the motorcycle. But if you use this glitch, those enemies don't actually appear at all, and you can skip all those cutscenes with Anaya and things like that, and just go straight for the motorcycle because that will still be there. Unfortunately, there's not really a whole lot of ways I could demonstrate the motorcycle segments with this glitch, but what I can explain is how they're able to pull this off on a technical level. Now, I can't really use any footage of this to demonstrate my point, but basically how these level works is that they work on an endless loop. So everything behind Laura gets immediately called out of the scene, and as you can see off in the distance of these levels, they start gradually building towards Laura. There's obviously a fog effect in the background, but the way they pull it off in this game makes it out as if it's a bit more of a line of sight thing rather than just a traditional fog effect used in older games. The next place that I'd like to explore is the ending of Peru. Now once again, we'll be using Slippy Slides footage for this part of the video, so once again, thank you so much for helping out with this. So one thing I was very curious about is if adult Laura and Anaya are still at the top of the well during the flashback sequence, because, like I said earlier, the models that are in cutscenes have to be in the environment for those cutscenes to work and stuff like that. So we see that Anaya is still at the top of the well, and it's really, really amusing to see. So now let's explore this in modern time, or at least modern at the time that the game came out, because this game canonically takes place in like 2006 or something like that. But anyway, so we can see the Jeep is still fully modeled up there, and we can also see just how far back the road actually goes before it disappears into oblivion, and we can get a really good view of what the outside of this area looks like as well. And this next area, I'm going to admit, is a little bit nightmare-inducing, to be completely honest, because if you fall into this area, the water effect is still loaded there, even if the textures are not, so it'll look like Laura is swimming, but nothing is rendered around this area, so it's honestly kind of scary. Like, I don't get scared that much when I play video games, but the way Laura is swimming and the way the environment darkens in this area, it's honestly kind of creepy. Easily one of my favorite places to explore this glitch with is Japan. This is so much fun to explore because you're in an open environment where you see all these vast buildings just stretching off in the distance. It's really fun to use this glitch to really see just how big this town actually is. It is still pretty impressive because keep in mind, this game was built with the mindset of the PlayStation 2's limitations. So even though we're playing on an Xbox 360 version, this is all made with the mindset of running on a PlayStation 2. So this is still really impressive when you really think about it. So yeah, what's really interesting is that as you go further and further out, the backs of the buildings are just not there. Now the reason why this is the case is because you're not supposed to be able to see the back of these buildings in the first place, so why would you bother modeling that and wasting precious processing power? And it's also really funny getting a closer look at these streets on the bottom of the world because it's just really amusing to see all these kind of low poly cars just rolling around. They're not even polygons, they're just flat textures going across on an endless loop, and a lot of these streets don't even make sense when you see it from this perspective. I do have to give you a bit of a warning though for this glitch. If you try using this, you can't really do a whole lot of fancy speedrunning tricks with it, because there's not really anything on the building that can help you get higher and higher. You can go across the area, but you still need to be careful about this, because the Laura's fall damage will still activate whenever you deactivate the glitch, if that makes any sense, which it probably doesn't. Another thing I have to worry you about is try to avoid the bridge if you can, because if you try getting too close to it, Laura will just suddenly die right there, like she got hit by the Avada Kedavra curse from Harry Potter or something like that. So stay away from the bridge if you can. This is also a really great place to really see just how far you can leave this area, because as you go further and further away from this area, you can see all the assets from this level just gradually fade away until there's literally nothing there and Laura's just floating around with a giant skybox everywhere. So I have been curious to see if it's possible to leave the skybox, but I'm admittedly a bit too chicken for that, because as it is, this glitch right here is legitimately freaky on its own. So maybe later down the line, I'll see if that's possible. Probably not, because of the way skyboxes are programmed. But still, this is something I'm really curious to see. And speaking of skyboxes, can we just admire how funny it is, how often the town repeats itself? Like, this is very obvious when you're playing the game on your own time, but it's just even more apparent whenever you're exploring with this glitch. Now, one thing that I really want to know about this level that I couldn't figure out on my own was whether or not you can walk around Nitsumura's office if you're able to get through the door, because this place can only really be seen during a cutscene, but those models are standing there, so is it possible to stand there, or is that floor texture just not something you can walk around on? I couldn't figure out a way to glitch myself into the office, because if you go outside, then every interior part of this building goes away. So I unfortunately couldn't figure this out on my own time, but what I was able to find, thanks to Slippy Slides video, is that Nitsumura is literally on the other side of the door. And easily, my favorite location to explore this glitch with is the waterfall in Ghana. This is just absolutely gorgeous, and it's really nice to be able to see this area from a bird's eye view, because I've always loved the waterfall in this place. It's so gorgeous, and to be able to see from this perspective is truly something else. You can also see things like the motorcycle lore came in at the beginning of the level, even though it's kind of funny that it's literally just the motorcycle and the simple ground texture that's right there. There's really nothing else right there. And you can also see behind the waterfall, and you can see the entire exterior of the temple is always there. And that's just something that's really cool. And as we learned from Okami, if there is a waterfall, there's something behind it. And what's also behind the waterfall are the cutscene assets. Ooh, fancy technical stuff. So I couldn't get close enough to the character models to really demonstrate this, but you can see a couple characters way off in the distance in kind of T-poses. And the reason why that is because character models, specifically for human people, they are modeled in a T-pose because that's the most basic and simple pose for a character to stand in, and then you can freely animate everything from there. So that's the reason why you see a lot of T-poses whenever you're exploring game assets and things like that, and that's the reason why those characters are just standing there in a T-pose way off in the distance. Before we move on from Ghana, there is one more thing that I'd like to demonstrate, and it's the fact that it is actually possible to continue through the level even though the waterfall hasn't been separated if you use this glitch. Most speedrunners will use this tactic, and it can be a little bit hard to navigate this area because the assets haven't been loaded yet, but by the time you get to the end of the tunnel and the waterfall area has been called out of the code, then everything will get back to normal. But it's really interesting seeing everything kind of grow darker as you get deeper into the interior of this building. It's a really nice visual of how this game's lighting effect works. Moving on to a colder area, we're going to be exploring the Kazakhstan base. Now, this is pretty much the only area in this level that we're going to be exploring with this glitch, because I couldn't really find anything interesting with the other parts of this level. So, we're just going to be exploring the base at the beginning of Kazakhstan. So, you can already see just how much of this mountainside is actually rendered, and it's pretty impressive when you consider this was built on PlayStation 2 limitations. But you can also trigger a pretty funny glitch within the glitch where I'm not entirely sure what happened here, but like the flooring of this level just completely vanished. This is like a glitch straight out of Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness or something like that. It's just really funny. And you can also see just how far the motorcycle segment goes when going through the train area. And you can really see just how far this train tunnel goes, and it's just really interesting. Now that's everything I'm going to be showing about the Kazakhstan level, but what I want to demonstrate from this other video that, like I said earlier, you'll see in the description below if you want to watch the full thing, is something pretty funny about the boss fight. I didn't show this off on my own time because, first of all, I didn't know about it, and second of all, if I did, I probably wouldn't either way because we're kind of in the middle of an intense battle, but there's a really random model just floating there in mid-air during this boss fight. It's always there and can always see it. You can't really interact with it, and I honestly don't know what it's for. Maybe it's another one of those cube things like we saw earlier in the game, but I don't think so because those cubes are usually a lot bigger and have textures on them, but this one's just random and gray and weird. Now the big thing that I wanted to demonstrate with the England level with this glitch has to be the Loch Ness Monster boss fight. Now, I tried exploring outside the boundaries of this level before the boss fight triggered, because I wanted to see if the monster could be seen under the water. You can hear it in the background if you listen carefully, but you can't actually see it anywhere before it actually spawns into the boss fight. So, unfortunately, I wasn't able to find it anywhere. It might be there, it's very possible it's somewhere way off in the distance. I don't know, I couldn't find it anywhere. And again, I was admittedly a little chicken to do it because this entire area is a little creepy. But whenever you fight the monster itself, this is really interesting because the Loch Ness Monster's head is programmed to always follow Laura around. So you can make it bend in some really funny ways, and it's just really funny in general. You do want to be careful with this boss fight though, because it can still attack you if you get too close. So if you get into the water as well, even if it's outside the level itself, it's going to trigger a cutscene where the Loch Ness Monster throws Laura back onto the platform, which will end the glitch, unfortunately. It is entirely possible to beat this boss fight with this glitch as well, and it's also really funny. And it's also amusing to see just how far this monster is actually rendered underneath the water, which is something I always like seeing in video games. You can actually see this with a 3D model viewer in Tomb Raider Legends bonus content menus. We'll demonstrate this at some point during the Tomb Raider Trilogy project, just not right now. The last thing we'll be demonstrating in this video is the mountains in Nepal. There's honestly not that much to show within the mountains themselves later in the game, or the very last level, because, first of all, the very last level is very hard to trigger this glitch with because there's so many enemies around, and there's honestly really not that much to see in the first place. But the Nepal Mountains, on the other hand, this is a really interesting place to explore because I've always thought the temple in the background needs a 3D depth slider, and if we float over there, it really is a flat texture. You can really see just how close it actually is. And how much depth this temple just does not have. It's really funny when you think about it. But yeah, this is another instance where, just like the Ghana waterfall, it's just so pretty to explore. I just absolutely love this glitch. So the last thing we'll be talking about in this video happens during a cutscene. So something pretty funny is that, like I've said a couple times before, all the character models within the cutscene need to be there whenever a cutscene is going. So whenever there was a cutscene with young Laura, adult Laura was always somewhere else in the cutscene. So even if she was out of bounds, she's always there, which is pretty funny. So as we end off this video, I'd like to give one more shout out to Slippy Slides for allowing me to use your footage for this video. It's really helpful for demonstrating stuff that I couldn't show on my own, so I really do appreciate it. A link to the full video will be in the description below, as well as a card on the corner of the screen, so you can check that out if you'd like. Tomb Raider Legend is a game I have replayed many times. The only game that I can think of that I've replayed more than this has to be The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, but the thing with Tomb Raider Legend is that it is a very fun game, but it's also very short, and a lot of the game just isn't really all that challenging for me anymore. So it's really fun to find a glitch like this that gives me another reason to play the game again. I'm going to be replaying Tomb Raider Legend again and again for years to come, even after this Let's Play. Even after the fact that I've already Let's Played this game twice, I'm still going to be replaying Legend for a long time. But this glitch has just given me so much more to explore in one of my favorite games of all time, And just for that, I'm really grateful for this glitch. It may seem a little silly to be grateful for something that shouldn't be there in the game at all, but this is just one of my favorite parts of my favorite game in the Tomb Raider series. So thank you all so much for watching this episode of Tomb Raider Legend. In the next episode, we're going to be demonstrating some stuff that you can only find on the PlayStation Portable version of this game. Until next time, Lady Gear to you. Ooh yeah.